Hello, I am Jameson and welcome to my channel. In this series, I am logging my weekly training as I progress from being at one of my lifetime lows all the way to completing a full Ironman triathlon. Like forging a weapon, you start with raw material. You process it through fire and work away the slag. You quench it with water to lock in its strength. And then you sharpen and fine-tune it to bring it to its peak optimal performance. In this case, I am the raw material. So please, show your support as I go through the process to forge an Ironman.
All right, one more week down. I know I haven't really got a whole lot of footage last couple of videos. Next week I'll try to catch back up on that. But this is the first week doing 42 miles. I did 21 to walk, 21 running. Next week I'm going to do 18 walk and 24 running. The little shin splint that I had going on last week is subsided throughout this week. But this is the first week that I'm actually starting to feel somewhat worked. Like today is the first day that I've actually had that runner's high, where your body kind of feels just like a wave. Kind of like if you've ever been to the beach all day and you come back and you just have that set in feeling of the ocean. Very similar. I know it seems like I've been dragging my feet on getting my bike gear and everything set up, but you have to keep in mind with the situation that I'm in, it's not my money that I'm using, so I have to sort of budget whatever I'm getting for myself. And again, if you didn't see my first video, my situation that I'm in is I'm being a caretaker for my mom. She has dementia and walking problems. And typically in these situations, such as mine, it comes down to one sibling left to take care of them while all the other ones go off and do their life and make money working and whatever they want to do. But that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm putting myself to this challenge. I was so defeated for so long with the whole situation. Me just sitting down, just all the frustrations that come along with everything. I have to really push for what I know I deserve. If you've ever had to be a caretaker for one of your folks, you might understand just how challenging it can be and do your own life. Other people who don't have this experience will throw out all their suggestions like it's just no big deal, but until they get into this situation, they can just sit down. But I haven't been completely empty-handed because the last couple of years I spent a lot of time working on learning some game development using Unreal Engine. I still haven't necessarily developed a game, but if you've ever been into that field, then you can understand just how challenging it can be and how much is involved in developing something. So as I progressively increase my training, it's also going to be a little bit of a challenge focusing on my game development. I actually gave it a rest for a little bit while I've been gradually getting my running going and sorting out everything with the Ironman. Now that I'm sort of underway, I'm kind of getting my head wrapped back into figuring out a really good game theme. Figuring out how to get it down on paper is really, really challenging. But one of the best things that I've come across recently is diagrams, unified modeling language. And sorting out everything in a diagram is going to be really useful, very, very helpful for kind of consolidating everything in the way that I want it to be. But back to fitness. So this week I also got back to doing my intermittent fasting, which is probably also a big part of why I'm feeling the runner's high. So the intermittent fasting, again, I'm not eating until 1 p.m. and I leave the window between 1 and 5. I try to eat very limited amount of carbs and generally a lot less portion of anything at all. This first week has been kind of about getting rid of solids and a lot of water weight. So I've kind of ranged up and down between like 5 pounds, but next week it should be a little bit more consistent.
Hey everybody, I've always wanted to do a YouTube channel. I've never gotten used to the sound of my own voice and
my own image, seeing what I actually look like other than just myself in the mirror. It's usually weird also to see myself flipped around the way all of you normally see me, as opposed to my reverse image. So it's going to take a little bit getting used to. So I'll try to make this as natural as I can before trying to shoot out any kind of artificial acting. So I wanted to start this talking about some goals, one of them being like I just mentioned, starting a YouTube channel, and but the question's always, what niche am I going to go for? I'm still going to work on figuring that out, but one I want to talk about today is, goal number 2. Goal number 2 is to, when I turn the age of 30, to have bodybuilder shredded abs. And it's pretty superficial, but it's definitely a goal of mine, and I think it's a healthy goal. I want to talk a little bit about the idea of your environment shaping you. So some of you might understand what I'm talking about already. Some of you might be a little foreign, and I'll explain. So we find ourselves often, coming up with these great ideas, all these wonderful things we want to do, places we want to go, and we're not really in position to fulfill those things. We're not around the right people. We're not in the right place, location in the world. And what happens is we get really comfortable with where we're at, with your job, with your relationships, things that you have to attend. We get really comfortable, and those habits become what we do. That becomes us. So if you want to make a change in your life, you got to start making the habits that are almost contradictory to the environment that you're in. If you want to be wealthy, the idea is, wherever you're at, stop hanging out with those who aren't wealthy, and start hanging out with people who are wealthy. Start wearing what they wear. Make yourself up. Just practice how you have to talk like a wealthy person. Same thing if you want to be a poor person. If you want to be trailer trash, hang out with trailer trash. After a while, you'll become that. Same thing with your work life. If you spend a lot of time working somewhere, and you feel, well, that's just temporary. That's just a temporary, temporary gain, something I needed in the moment. If you spend too much time in that temporary place, doing that temporary job, it becomes permanent. It becomes you. The mask that you put on when you started that job, originally you knew it was a mask. You knew you acted over enthusiastic. Acted almost like a Mickey Mouse character, like you're always on stage. Eventually, through doing that habit so many times, you forget that you're pretending. You forget to take off that mask when you go home. And then what happens is, when you think of doing anything different, quitting that job and performing in another way, you're so comfortable with performing in that manner that you can't take it off. You can't change it. It takes a lot of effort. So if you're in that position, if you find that whatever position that you're doing is not relevant to what you want to be, what you want to do, then you gotta prioritize a few things. You gotta remember that whatever job that you're doing is just a subservient position. If you quit, if you leave it, they will continue on without you, and they'll do just fine. As a matter of fact, whether they do fine or not shouldn't be any word to you. That was their project, not yours. They're always looking at you as an asset, because that's what you are to them. You're a human resource. Now, yeah, human resource is very important. I'm not saying don't be a good worker. I'm not saying to not take your job seriously. But remember what it is. And if your job is that important to you that it should take up all the time of your life, the best time of your life, if your life is only put toward your job, then are you really worth anything? Are you really worth anything to yourself? You see, you gotta remember that your life, your goals, your experience, the only experience that you have on this earth, should be spent toward what you want to damn do. Just remember that your job is just a stepping stone in getting there. Don't let your job become the end all and be all. Do your job, go home, and don't sit down. When you go home, put to work what you meant to do before you started the job. You started the job to make money so that you can live your life. Well, when you're not at work, go live your life. Don't sit down and say, "Oh, I'm tired now because of all my work." Because that excuse is not ever gonna. No one's ever gonna get up and say, "Oh, that poor guy. That's his excuse means something." I think the world's gonna have to change in order for his excuse to matter, and for something to come out of the sky and rescue him. That's never gonna happen. If you're tired, if you're dead beat at the end of the day after work, get a different job. If not, you gotta, whatever it is, you gotta push. You gotta push to make happen what you want to make happen. It's gonna take a lot of effort, but you gotta have the balls to do it.